Beck's explanation for atmospheric refraction is a lie. It's not true. And it's a very easy to detect error once you see the diagrams that they present to you and their explanation as to why one can see a further distance into the horizon under more severe atmospheric refraction conditions. So let me just pull up my screen here. And you can just go into Google Image and just type in atmospheric refraction horizon. And this is this particular crude image I picked to alter. So I brought this image into actually Illustrator. And what I did was I added a few corrections to it, because what they'll tell you is that this purple line here is what they will consider the refraction line, and so this green line is in accord with that purple line, with them explaining to you that that's the length or the longer distance to the horizon you will see due to refraction. But their error lies with the initial observer, and there's no justification for this lift of this purple sightline here. Since they say that atmospheric refraction, it will cause the light to bend down, there's no justification whatsoever to lift this purple line initially like that. And so I corrected it with my blue line here. So if the Earth were convex and atmospheric refraction was altering our visibility distance, it would actually shorten our visibility distance, not lengthen it. It would bend down much quicker than if there was no refraction. So, very easy to detect. There's no justification for the initial sight line to be lifted like that. So, in the correct model, LSC concave Earth model, I fixed that for them. And yes, atmospheric refraction will cause the light to bend down. However, the light is intrinsically bending upward toward the center, where we have the octahedron. This is also evident in ham radio horizontal antennas, where the energy will always be bending upward. This is a horizontal ham radio antenna, and you'll see these different lobes of energy, and it's always rising. Even the lowest lobe, it's rising at 7.5 degrees above the horizon. So energy is never going straight, and it's never going down. And that's the same thing with light. Light is going to be doing the same thing. It's always going to be rising upward like that. So going back to Illustrator here, I'll show you what's really happening. When at certain conditions in the atmosphere where there's a denser region, or there's a warm pocket, or there's a temperature inversion level, or there's a humidity difference or a pressure difference, this green line here is the normal sight trajectory line. Here's my lighthouse over here. So under these conditions, let's say that there's a warm pocket of air right here, or a different condition where it's just causing the refraction to happen in this region. And so that's what's happening. That's why it's causing the observer to see a farther horizon out into the sea. So if you see this blue line here, this is under just normal atmospheric conditions where there's no detectable amount of refraction. Let's just say it's a negligible amount of refraction. So our horizon would be extended to right here. But under a refractive condition, our horizon will be lengthened because our normal sight trajectory is rising up slower. So it's being lengthened before it rises up, but it always rises up to the center eventually. So that's what's happening. And so going back to some of these videos that I was talking about before, like this video here, I brought up this video before showing how like, objects in the foreground were indicating concavity, and how the horizon in the background is actually rising above the images, these oil rigs that are closer to us. This one's at 9 miles, that one's at 4 miles, I believe. However, he also filmed it where there's no refraction happening. I'll play that right now. See, this is a different day where you don't see that happening. You don't see the extension But and also note too that you don't see the distortion of the cranes on the oil rigs. Go back and I'll show you the distortion of the crane on the oil rig here. You see the distortion there? And so that's a good indication that's exactly what's happening here, where different temperature pockets are extending our visibility as the light is, it's taking longer to rise. It's a better way to put it. It's not that it's bending down, it's just that it's taking longer to rise up. So it's being extended like that. And because it's being extended like that, it's getting distorted along the way. The imagery is getting distorted along the way before it rises up again. So that's really how atmospheric refraction works. It doesn't work on the convex model. And of course, I don't even want to get into flat because I've already listed the impossibilities of Earth being flat. And also, I mentioned before in this video, even this shows right here that it would push the image, it would push the sun downward. They say that the sun rises 2 minutes before it actually does. It gives you an apparent sun versus the actual location of the sun. They'll say that the actual location of the sun is lower than it appears, but that's actually the reversal. Because if we had this atmosphere where we had this concave ceiling, it would be pushing the sun down like that, not raise it up. But then conversely, if we turn our glass around so we have a convex ceiling, it actually raises the imagery. And that's reality. That's really what's happening. That is why we see the sun 2 minutes before it actually rises, because we have a convex ceiling to the atmosphere and light is bending up. So keep that in mind and understand that there's no justification for them to say that this light, the sight line, would have an initial rise to it. There's no reason. It's legal. It's illegal. It's not justified. They can't get away with that. And that's how they have to draw their diagrams like that in order for them to show you that we have an extension of visibility distance. But that's not how it works. If they were honest, they would draw it like this and they would completely debunk their explanation of why atmospheric refraction is extending our distance. So it doesn't work. So this does bust convexism, whether it's heliocentric or geocentric. And it proves concavity with light bending upward. And for those of you who are new to my model, and I get this question asked a lot, how does the sunrise and the sunset work? Well, this is a very good animation to help you understand how it's working. If the viewer is here down at the bottom, because of the upward bending of the light, it creates a blind area as the light takes off from the horizon. So this area from here all the way to the celestial sphere gets obscured. And so our sun becomes inverted or upside down as it makes its way across the sky and sets like that. So in actuality, in physical actuality, during the morning, the sun is actually descending toward us from the east and then rising up away from us toward the west at sunset.
Ain't no shadow of a doubt. Don't it make you wanna twist and shout? When your outside's in, inside out, and your downside's up, upside down. Yeah, your upside's right, side up. Yeah, don't it make you wanna twist and shout when you're inside out?
They say that atmospheric refraction will cause us to see the sun 2 minutes before it actually rises, and 2 minutes after it sets. Now, if we were on a ball Earth, and we had an atmosphere that was acting like a lens, we'd have a concave ceiling. Or if we're on a flat disk, and there's a dome made out of glass or whatever, it too would have a concave ceiling to it. Now, when you look at imagery through a concave lens with the angle set as if it were above you, in other words, not like this, but like this, the imagery through the lens will actually go down, not up. So that's in direct violation of what is preached about atmospheric refraction. The image is going down. See the roof line there? However, if the ceiling were convex, like I tell you it is, it's made out of glass, that would lift up the imagery. And that's exactly what we observe. That is why we see the sun 2 minutes before it actually rises, because we have a convex glass ceiling in the cellular concave Earth. It's a direct violation of what they tell you. Welcome to Cell Earth. It's undeniable. So I'm up late last night, and I just noticed that this panel of intelligent jackasses were talking about me. Steve McRae, he was really butthurt that I kicked him out of the Flat Earth Debates channel back on Sunday when I had mod privileges. He was just going off about me. Him and all his little fucking idiot bullshit atheist friends like Sean Ladyboy Hufford, and Red's Rhetoric was here, but he wasn't actually talking about me. But Red's brought up the point of his argument against flat earthers and their assertion that the sun would get smaller at the horizon, or to their perspective. But he's showing that he took a camera and he shot the sun and you get the same angular diameter of the sun throughout the day. And that is because I tell you that there's actually a glass sky. It's a convex ceiling. You're inside the concave cell Earth, and so that glass sky with refraction, or with negative refraction, is actually equalizing the apparent angular diameter of the sun throughout the day. It's a perfect divine ruse, but I'll play part of it here.
I'm like, look, you're not questioning it. I'm like, which model fits your position better for observation? Do you think the flat Earth model or the round Earth model? Well, I don't really know. I'm just kind of questioning either one. No. You have to pick one. I mean, you cannot just sit there and say you don't know, because that's lying.
Yep.
And I also, if you're questioning, then you have to have one you think works better than another.
Yep. And this is the image that I showed these flat earthers when I told them I did my own observation. And this is a P900 through a solar filter, properly exposed. And you see that the angular size of the sun does not change throughout the day. This is one picture every 30 minutes, roughly. And as you can see, it stays exactly the same size. So for these dipshits to say that the sun changes size throughout the day, yeah, bullshit. I call bullshit.
Now listen to this guy. This guy actually brings up what I've been talking about, that the glass, or the flat earthers think the firmament is actually magnifying the sun, which it is. But anyway, listen.
Sun's angular size change. And the response was, it's the dome. It has a magnifying effect. That's why you don't see any change in size.
Citation needed.
Citation needed.
Yeah, I need evidence for this dome. I also need evidence to show how it can magnify it at one distance for a guy looking at it at one angle, yet it'll magnify it a totally different way for a guy looking at it directly overhead at zenith.
It's a perfect wonder, as the song Snow would help you understand. Yeah, this is my simulation back in November 2015. I was actually making a video against Mariah Ziller's bullshit explanation, where he was actually talking about this too. He was saying that, well, within a concave Earth model, the sun at the horizon would be much smaller, blah, 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 yada, 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 but without understanding the glass sky actually causing the refraction to equalize the size. Hello? Did you neglect to realize that I've been telling people for years that there's a glass sky? You know what glass does, right, Mariah? It creates refraction. Okay, there's a specific index of refraction to the glass sky, to living desert glass, 1.46 approximately. And what you fail to realize is that that glass refraction of the sky actually equalizes the sun, the size of the sun, throughout the day. The size of the moon, the size of the planets throughout the day. Okay, the angular diameter of the sun or the moon or the planets will change if the distance from the center changes. So if this is the celestial sphere, I have a series of balls that are close closer to the center, and a series of balls that are further away from the center. Okay. And what I did was I rendered them in lightweight with refraction and without refraction. Okay, this is with refraction. That's without refraction. You see the difference there? Okay, you are on under the assumption that there is no glass sky, there is no refraction created, there is no curvature of light. Okay, so yeah, the refraction is going to equalize the size, Red. It's a perfect wonder. It's a divine perfect wonder. You're living inside the earth, inside the cell earth. Red goes on to talk about the glass sky, or in his understanding, the hypothetical glass sky.
I don't think glass works that way, or whatever the fuck they think it's made out of. Is it water, glass, crystal? What are they going with here?
It's glass.
Depends on who you ask.
Well, actually, crystal, glass, quartz.
So basically, they don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
You know, change whichever is most convenient that answers the problem you've just last asked. And then if you ask them the next question, which means they have to invalidate what they just said, then they'll do it. Because they'll adopt a multitude of positions to desperately try and find some answer. But of course,
Does the glass get dusty? Does Scott have large crews of people with Windex and an endless supply of paper towels or something?
That's a good question. Let's find out. You guys remember this video? Glass has titanium dioxide, Libyan desert glass. That is a glass that fell down in the Libyan desert in Egypt, which I believe were pieces of the glass sky.
You ever seen one of those before? Have you ever seen an ionizer? You ever seen one of those before? Okay, well, what's really interesting is they came up with this new invention where you get titanium dioxide, and it's basically, I believe, a lithium nano. You have to use carbon nanotubes whenever you make it, so it's not regular titanium dioxide that's like in Parmesan when you put it on your pizza or whatever, you know. But basically, whenever sunlight hits the titanium dioxide, it releases negative ions, just like an air purifier would.
Oh, so crazy ozone.
So basically what they're using it in is the glass of solar panels. So like if you had solar panels on your roof, and you know how the dust would get on it from like rainstorms and just the wind and shit, like you got to go up there and clean it with a brush. Well, if you use glass with the titanium dioxide in it, it releases the negative ions, and it actually neutralizes the organic waste, like carbon on the outside of the glass. And it's also a ultra hydro porous surface, which means that like when a water droplet falls on it, as soon as it hits the surface, it distributes evenly along the whole entire surface. Like it will never collect as they drop on it. So like the glass is always clean, and there's no residue from water. And all this was developed in China. You know?
Did you know that the chemical analysis of Libyan desert glass has titanium dioxide in it?
That's crazy, right? I didn't even
That's
know
right
that.
there.
I just googled it right now.
Telling you, man, it's some interesting stuff, man.
So there
Like,
you
I've
go, Red. Red, I did not get a reply from you. I guess you're not going to respond because evidently I think from your vantage point it's more expedient or convenient to actually not even acknowledge me because you've already deemed me crazy, right? Even though you are the one who's incorrect about the true shape of the earth. You're living inside the concave cellular earth and there's glass in the sky. And you've been duped. You've been duped by God. I've been trying to tell you for years, Red, that I am God in the flesh, but you refuse to believe me. I want us to tell you. So, yeah, let me check my inbox right now, make sure that you didn't PM me with a reply to that challenge that I offered you for a debate. No, you still haven't. So you forfeited. You forfeited because you know deep down in here that I would cream your butt in a debate. I don't mean literally. So, yeah, just humble yourself, man. Repent. Oh, and that one laser test you talked about doing, that's not going to work. 25 feet away as a secondary height measurement to the laser will not work, because I don't think you are going to be honest. All you have to do is deviate that height about 1/16 of an inch. A little bit higher, and that's going to compound into 8 feet. 3 miles into the lake. No. You go and you learn what the laser test, how the laser test was done in Lake Zebrzydynski, I believe, in Poland. You have the height of the lasers on both sides of the lake, or at the ends of the lake, being equal. And then you go out with your boat in the middle, and then that's where you take the measurement, in the middle. I can't find it right now. But that's what you need to do. So, yeah, I could fight flat earthers all day too, Red, and be even more victorious than you are against them. But evidently you're afraid to debate me about cell concave, aren't you? Just humble yourself. Repent.